We often associate the howling we hear in the woods with wolves, but what if it was something worse? Something unearthly? This is Unreal Encounters. The Ozark Howler. Welcome back to Unreal Encounters, where we examine the mysterious and the unexplained, and talk about possible theories about what may be happening. I'm Paul, and I'm here with Josh and Lindsay today.
Hello!
And this week we're talking about the Ozark Howler. Have you guys heard anything about the Ozark Howler?
I have not heard of it. I looked it up when you told me we were doing it today. I'm excited.
Okay.
I have not looked up nor heard of it.
Do you at least know what the Ozarks are?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
I went there for a spring break when I was in high school.
Cool.
I'm sure I'll catch up.
It's a funky
Yeah.
place. It's a funky place.
It is a funky place. Alrighty, let's jump into it. The Ozarks are a mountain range found in the states of Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. It is largely forested with eastern juniper trees. The woods can often hide many creatures within them, some of which aren't seen very often. One such creature was first spotted in the Ozarks in the early 1800s. Daniel Boone was hunting in the woods when he came face to face with the beast. The large looming figure was about the size of a bear with long black fur, horns protruding from its head and piercing red eyes. Frantically, he fired at the creature, which then ran off. Many others reported seeing the creature over the years with similar descriptions, and almost more terrifying than the creature itself was the howl attributed to it. The howl of the Ozark Howler is said to sound like the howl of a wolf mixed with a woman screaming.
That's a fun description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, Ozarks are a mountain range in kind of central United States.
Arkansas. Yeah.
But yeah, so the Ozark Howler, which gets the name from the howl of it.
Yes. Well, a big shaggy horned beast kind of sounds like the Bone Beast from
Yep.
Adventure's Call, which you should watch.
Shameless plug. Yes.
I'm not ashamed.
Oh, good. Judging by the description, I actually have to laugh because the first thing that came to my mind was what sound a fox actually makes. Because they've got this weird howly, screechy sound that doesn't sound natural at all.
They totally do.
So that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah. Sounds like a woman's scream.
Now just imagine that coming from a giant bear-like creature.
With red eyes.
With red eyes.
Yeah.
Well, the
that's a little
part
scary.
that gets me is the glowing red eyes. I'm like, that's kind of like bear. I've seen bears. Not in the wild, but maybe I've seen them in the wild. But like zoo bears. But if it had red eyes, like, ooh. And some of it said glowing red eyes. In 2014, the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission received an emergency call from a motorist who had almost hit an unidentified animal. The caller said that they had been driving along Pump Station Road when a bear-sized black creature ran out of the trees and almost crashed into the car. It then ran down the road at a fast pace away from the car. Armed state wildlife officers were then sent out to see if they could find the creature. There is no record if they ever found it. So they said bear-like because they were like pretty sure it wasn't a bear, but it also was like the size of a bear. And so this is kind of the second. Well, not second. There's multiple accounts of people seeing the Ozark Howler up to this point. But this one is like it ran out of the trees and they almost hit it. And they sent out armed officers to go try and find the creature. Which I was like, that's crazy. So I was like, well, you probably would do that with a bear.
Yeah.
If a bear is getting that close to people, normally you probably send people with guns out to stop it.
Yeah. At least a trank gun, you know? But, I mean, it feels like, they're driving, it's unexpected, they probably swerved a little bit because it almost hit the car. I feel like maybe you're not seeing very clearly in that moment, and so the bear-like creature that you almost ran over could just be a bear.
Could just be a bear.
Yeah.
That's fair, yeah.
I mean, and it doesn't even give us much description in this one, so I think they
Yeah,
just
there wasn't
assume.
near as much description in this account as the first one.
But there's something in the Ozarks that could be bear-like, according to legend.
According to legend, yeah.
Whether
From
that's
the
this
1800s.
encounter or not.
Yes.
Well, like the first account's all the way from the 1800s, so it's like this has been, if whatever it is, it's been around for a while.
Been around.
But also
Yeah.
bears have been around for a while, so maybe it's bears. I feel like a lot of these were like, it's probably just bears. And we'll get to some of the theories on this one, but it's like, maybe it's just a bear.
Yeah. Bears. They've been around for a while.
Although for this one at least, this was also something I thought about with this one, it's furry. A lot of the other ones we've talked about are not furry. It's like a hairless creature, like Dover demon, hairless. Fresno Nightcrawlers, not sure what they really have.
Yeah, maybe they have a suede texture.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't look hairy.
No hairless. Or hairless as well.
No hair.
Loch Ness Monster, no hair either.
Probably hairless, yeah.
But yeah, so this one actually is like a furry one, which almost makes it more likely it's a bear, maybe?
Yeah.
Although the red eyes and horns, because the first account has horns.
Yeah, true.
The thing is horns.
Yeah, that doesn't really fit bear topic.
No.
So that's the thing that very much sticks out, you know. You could see that in the forest and think, okay, well, maybe it's an elk, maybe it's a whatever, but if it looks like a bear and it's got horns, you start to question a little more.
Maybe like a branch got stuck on its head.
Maybe.
Only a year later, in 2015, someone sent in photographs to a local news station. These photographs were taken in a place called Devil's Den State Park. They show what many believe is the Ozark Howler. The Fish and Game Commission has gone on record claiming these pictures are a hoax, but many still believe they depict the Ozark Howler.
Show us the pictures.
And we have the pictures. And they actually have a few shots, which I think makes it a bit more convincing. So this is one of the shots of the alleged Ozark Howler. So the first thought I had was, this looks a lot smaller than what's been described. And But it also goes back to like the Fresno Nightcrawlers. If you're like, if this has been around for a while, there has to be reproducing. It has to be making more Ozark Howlers. And so maybe this is a young Ozark Howler.
Baby. It kind of looks like my brother's puppy.
And this is why some people have said this is maybe a hoax, because they're like, maybe somebody just put horns on their dog and then took pictures of it.
Shaved its tail. Poor thing.
Oh. Yeah, it has kind of like a rat tail-esque thing. And there's quite a few of it. And so you're like, okay, they got quite a few pictures. And to their credit, they got way more pictures than most people do of cryptids. Like, Bigfoot, most of the time, it's like, oh, we got one really blurry picture. And it's like, you didn't stop and, like, try and take more? I mean, honestly, I'm like, I think if I were to see a Bigfoot, I'd probably be like, yeah, I'm going to make sure I get a good picture of it. But everybody's always like, oh no, I can't hold my camera up. I don't know, I'd probably die to Bigfoot and then, but then you'd just be a myth and legend as part of Bigfoot.
Fair. Are the images kind of blurry? Or is that just from my...
That is the images are blurry. So these are the images that are sent in. They're a little blurry.
And they were from 2015.
2015. So they should have good
enough cameras.
Good enough cameras, unless maybe it was their phone. I don't remember how good phone cameras were in 2015. I feel like they were better than this.
Because that's my biggest concern is I'm like, guys... Realistically, even someone with their phone, it should have been less blurry.
Yeah.
Hypothetically. Now that being said, same thing with every one of these type of cryptids. It's like, hey, your phone should have worked when it mattered.
It was the auras coming off of the creature that altered the image.
They have like an aura that affect electronics. I mean, and we always go back to this. We had this during Loch Ness and all of them. It's like, if it was a better picture, we'd know if it was real or fake. And it's just like, dang it.
Always ends up being somebody's dog.
Yeah.
Unless it's a pair of white pants.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the only exception.
Yep. So. Yep. Yeah, but that's the pictures of the alleged Ozark Howler.
Okay.
Now that we have looked at the sightings, let's look at some of the theories about what the Ozark Howler could be. Our first theory is that the Ozark Howlers are misidentified animals. The description of the Howler does not rule out many animals that live in the Ozarks. There are black bears and other large animals, and some theorize it could even be an escaped large cat or wild boar. The howls could be attributed to the gray and red fox calls. When female foxes are in heat and searching for a mate, their calls sound a lot like someone screaming.
So our first theory is there are other animals.
Yeah.
Like, and kind of we said, like, bear. It could be a bear.
Yeah, could be a bear.
And there's so many sightings. Like, some of them could be bears. Some of them could be one of them could have been a wild boar. And we actually had wild boar come up a few times. I feel like wild boar is everybody's excuse for cryptids.
Boars are insane. That's why they...
And I think
mentally
it was even
unstable.
mentioned between was like bison or any of the other big animals with horns in the Ozarks.
Yeah. Well, I figure, like, in the 1800s, Daniel Boone is, running around. Like, maybe he hadn't ever seen a bison before. And
Yeah.
was just like, what is this unholy creature?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, heard a fox scream, and then saw a bison, and thought, these are the same thing.
Yeah, and I mean, if the bison's charging you, I wouldn't be the one questioning, like, was that you screaming? I'd be shooting at him and running. Like,
I would be screaming.
Was that high-pitched scream you?
was that you, sir? Just,
Is that my voice?
just bison charging towards you, like, hey, sir, was that you? Is that... Like, oh, okay, hold on, sorry.
Well, at the same time, I feel like Daniel Boone, hypothetically, if he's in the forest a lot and he's been hunting for years,
True.
if this thing was not native to that area, then I would
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
This could be something completely new.
True.
If he had seen a lot of these things already, then totally could be valid. This is something completely different he has never seen before.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
very different and strange.
Well, and like, they pointed out, because boars do not live in the Ozarks. Big cats do not live in the Ozarks. There are cougars, I think. I'm trying to remember.
There are
my
mountains.
research.
There tend to be mountain lions.
I think there's mountain lions, but they theorize like it could have been like a black tiger or panther, or it could have been a boar that escaped like a zoo or a traveling circus or something at the time.
Gotcha.
And so it was running wild, and this guy runs into it
Yeah.
and is like, I don't know what that is. Like I said, 1800s dude who's just walking through he's probably just a mountain man looking for it. He's like, that's not a bear, that's not an elk, I don't know what it is.
One
And
got
I
red
shot
eyes.
at it, and it ran away.
Yeah, one of Buffalo Bill's, wild and exotic creatures.
Yeah.
Just like, running through the forest. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
Well, at least he wasn't like, I'm going to swear on Bibles. This guy had red eyes.
I mean, he might have sworn on Bibles. We know how the 1800s were in the middle of America.
Yeah.
In
That's true.
Arkansas.
Our second theory is that the Ozark Howler is a hoax. It was discovered that many of the Ozark Howler sightings could be traced to a University of Arkansas student who made a bet that he could fool the cryptozoology community with a bunch of made-up stories. This could explain many of the sightings and maybe even explain away the Ozark Howler, if not for the sightings long before cryptozoology or the University of Arkansas was a thing.
So, it's discovered that this dude from Arkansas, University of Arkansas, made a bet that he could trip up the cryptozoologist community.
Yeah.
And so he just like called in reports and did this, and so a bunch of the reports just get thrown out because it's like this dude was just making crap up along the way. And so there's a whole lot of confusion of like what's actually a report and what's a hoax. So some people have said it's just all fake, all bunk, no nothing. But then some people are like, well, don't write it off entirely because there were people in the 1800s that saw it, and that was well before like cryptozoology was a thing, or the University of Arkansas, I think.
Well, I mean, this University of Arkansas student, I don't think that he had access to time travel. So
No.
I don't think he went back and fooled Daniel Boone. That's just a theory, but I think it's a pretty plausible one. So, I don't know. I mean, I think, probably some of it, is like, for sure, intentional hoax.
Yeah.
Because this guy was like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah, I mean, we know that he did
Yeah.
call in a bunch of sightings,
Yeah,
so it's like
yeah.
we know that many of them are fake because it was this dude.
And some of them could be sincere reports and still not be real. We don't know. That's how this thing goes.
Yeah, that's true. And often as the case is with the theories, it's like normally multiple of the theories are kind of all true, where it's like, oh, some of them are a hoax and some of them are people seeing things they didn't recognize. And then I mean, going back to like the chupacabra, it was like, oh, it's sort of real in the sense of there is something that is murdering these animals. You could call it a chupacabra, but it is just like a dog. Or like this, it's like the Ozark Howler could be a bear, just like a really terrifying bear.
Yeah.
True.
And like maybe Daniel Boone did meet like a bear that had a stick stuck in its head and was like nuts. Yeah, so and like maybe you can call that an Ozark Howler. I don't know.
Yeah.
Guess so.
One did I.
But I feel like, yeah, that's the same thing of like, we don't know exactly. However, it is cool to think that something could be out there that's not natural and not the norm, you know? Why is there something that's got antlers that looks like a bear? Why is there something that's got red eyes and antlers that looks like a bear?
And screams.
And screeches. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, who knows? Hypothetically, it could be a creature that existed then. It could be a creature that still exists. We don't know.
Yeah.
True.
So I think, as much as they have fake sightings and fake things,
And
there was still enough evidence to point out there's probably something that did exist. Even if it happened to be just a regular bear or a regular buffalo or whatever it is.
something.
Yeah, and listen, like the Ozarks, Arkansas, like that area of Arkansas is kind of a wild place. Like I said, I went out there for spring break several years ago. We stayed in a haunted hotel. We, found one of the glass chapels in the woods. Maybe there are creatures, running around in the woods screaming at night. There's all sorts of crazy stuff going on in the Ozarks.
Our final theory is that the Ozark Howler is its own creature. There are many eyewitness encounters with the creature, and it's possible that it exists. Whether or not it is supernatural, the Ozark Howler could be a species of creature that is itself being misidentified as a bear or other things. And it is possible that there are things out there we don't fully understand.
So, we've already talked a little bit about it, but the idea of maybe it is a breed of bear, or like the picture is kind of like a more fox-like creature. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's like the Ozark Howler is a species, and we've got a lot of species, and so it's like misidentifying things, but it's possible that the reports are misidentified things. So, we already kind of talked about the idea of it maybe being an Ozark Howler, whatever an Ozark Howler is.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I feel like it just pulled the Uno reverse card. It's usually it's animals being misidentified as cryptids, but this is a cryptid being misidentified as an animal.
Yeah. That's the question, isn't it?
The woods are a scary place, and there are many sounds that we hear that cause our minds to race to terrifying conclusions. The Ozark Howler may or may not be a real creature, but it has still worked its way into the imaginations of many as the terrifying sounds people hear in the woods cause us to think of the worst monsters imaginable. The Ozark Howler is a reminder that the noises we hear in the woods could be any number of things.
Well, that brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit the like and the subscribe buttons, and we will see you in the next video. Stay curious.